Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel, Librarian California, where today I'm going to be doing December wrap-up, end of the year wrap-up all in one. It has been exhausting this month. I don't know if you know about college and academic libraries, but it can get busy at the end of the semester, so I was trying to finish up the end of the semester. And also I realized that I was 8 books short of meeting my 2020 reading goal. And again, it's just my goal, but I really want to get it. So I've read 8 books in like the last 6 days. So anyways, I'm gonna fly through them here, kind of wrap up the month, wrap up the year. But so my yearly goal was 35 books, and I met that about an hour or two ago. So I'm gonna film this now, edit it, and try to get it up by tomorrow, by the end of the year. But yeah, it was a mad dash. I will be honest, I picked shorter books, not gonna lie. They were the books I had, they were in my queue, they were in my Libby app. Yeah, there's no way I was gonna knock out like 8 ridiculously long books, but they all vary in length. But yeah, anyways, I knocked them out and it's been exhausting. So, but yeah, so the very first book was not on my list at all. I got it in a package from a friend, another librarian, thought I should read it. The book is called Be Wild, Be Free. So it is by Amber Fossey. It came out October 27th, 2020, so brand new book. My friend decided to, this year, she decided to give gifts that were either local. So I got some soap handmade by a 12-year-old Navajo girl from New Mexico. And then this is a British artist. And apparently, I have to check it out, but my friend said she's really popular and big on Instagram. She goes by Zephlin Moon is her handle there. But basically she does these cool little pictures. You can see some animals there on the front. You've got a sloth and you've got a bird. And I will say that my favorite was, so this is an adult picture book. It is not for children. Although the pictures are nice watercolors and drawings and cute cuddly animals and funny things, but the text is not all PG. So just a warning. But anyways, I love this manatee that is in a bikini. So I'm just gonna read it to you really quick. Manatee did not worry about getting her body ready for the beach. Instead, she hollered at the beach, "Are you ready for me?" The sea lowered his sunglasses, smiled, and said, "You betcha, babe." Actually, it says "You betcha, baby." Sorry about that. So anyways, yeah, so there's like cool little pictures in here. But yeah, there are some curse words throughout it. So anyways, it was a cool book. It was gifted to me. It looks fairly big. It's not, it's a picture book. So I flew through it in like an hour maybe. But yeah, it was published by Harper One, which is an imprint of HarperCollins. Yeah, but I'd recommend it, especially, I don't know if you can ever see that I have like art supplies behind me, but there's just really cool, interesting ways in which they did art. Like this sad little, make sure there's no curse words on here. Sad little donkey, but it was a cool little book. But I definitely like the art aspect of it and how they make the drawings and watercolor and colored pencil and all that make it look easy, but it's not. So anyways, I gave that one 4 stars. I liked it. I like that my friend just sent it to me randomly. I didn't know about it. So those are always kind of great when you get books from your library friends. So that was published in 2020. The next one I read was published in 1776. So I mentioned before that I have a history background, and I have a backlog of history books or classic books and things that are in my TBR, and I've just decided to try to knock out ones here and there so I can just get some books out of my house. So I read Common Sense, The Right of Man and Other Essential Writings by Thomas Payne. It was published in 1776. Yeah, so this is written prior to the Declaration of Independence, prior to the Revolutionary War. It's been sitting on my shelves for a long time. It's not a very big book, so I don't really have an excuse to not read it. So yeah, but this was a Dover publication press. But essentially, this educated a lot of people and kind of helped influence the writing of the Declaration of Independence. And there's just been a lot going on in our world right now where it seems to be that our democracy is in chaos and people don't really understand some of our background or what our Constitution actually says. versus what people believe it says or what they wanted to believe it said. So anyways, I just thought common sense. We could really use a lot more people to have that right now. So anyways, you can see that I went from 2020 back to 1776. Quick little read, but like, if you are not a history person, do not read this book. So anyways, but I can chuck it off of my TBR and unhaul that book and get rid of it. So the third book I don't actually have. I did an audiobook version of it, but it was called Sea Otter Heroes. It was by Patricia Newman. I gave it 4 stars. It was published in 2017. So if you've gathered, you know, I am a librarian. I'm a science librarian. And I read things for both work and for pleasure and circumstances of where I live and a bunch of different things. So I try to mix things with my background. So I like to read history. I like to read, you know, if you've seen my channel, I have quite the eclectic channel, and I thank you all for those of you that actually watch me regularly. Like, you don't know what the hell I'm going to be reading or talking about. So I appreciate you hanging in there with me. It's not my intention. It's just because of my work, my interests, different things. Like, I just read a lot of different things that, you know, there's not one common theme. This is not a science fiction channel. This is not a, you know, romance channel. This is not a fiction channel. It's just, this is whatever I'm reading for whatever reason. So anyways, the next book, so the Sea Otter Heroes book that I was reading, I live in California and sea otters are a big thing here. And so I kind of try to read up on different things, all things California, because I've only been here a few years. So I wrote about sea otters because they're adorable and they actually have a huge place in the ecosystem. So anyways, it was a book basically about studying sea otters and how, you know, they're kind of the predators of their area, but how they kind of keep the ecosystems that they live in check. So quick book, you know, easy read. But yeah, I'm now more educated on sea otters on the California coast. So that was a good one. Gave it 4 stars. That was 2017. The next one, so 2017, now I'm going to pop back to 1927. And I read The Adventures of Robin Hood. So here we go. It's not the most attractive cover, but I read The Adventures of Robin Hood. Now, what's funny is that, so this edition that I have is Paul Creswick, and I have just been in an audiobook reading mood lately. And so I pulled up the audiobook and listened to it all, and then I looked at the book and I realized that I did not have the same book. So the book I actually listened to was The Adventures of Robin Hood by E. Charles Vivian. So it was published in 1927. Gave it 4 stars, but I will have to tell you, as a child growing up, I watched many Disney shows, and including the classic Robin Hood. So, and I watched this a million times throughout my childhood, a couple times in my adulthood. And what's funny is that while I was listening to Robin Hood, I kept thinking, I'm like, okay, he's the fox, Marion's the fox, like the sheriff is the bear, like, and I couldn't get that out of my head. And of course there was, you know, the stories are not exactly the same by any means, but, you know, I was like, where's the large chicken? I'm like, where are the kids? You know, a whole bunch of things. But anyways, it's a good story, and it's been told a million different ways over several centuries, but I just kept thinking of the movie, and I was like, oh, Little John, okay, there's that, or oh, King, okay, all right. But yeah, I just kept putting the animals in my head and who they were in the story, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. But anyways, I thought it's just what happened. I don't know, but I kept thinking like, oh, the fox. Oh, yeah, anyways. So anyways, it's classic, but I did like it. Now, the next, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't actually have any of the books. I did them all on audiobooks. I sit in front of a screen so much as a librarian, especially one that's working from home virtually, that I was just like, nope. The semester just kind of burnt me out. So I was like, I'm just going to sit and listen. So I did, and I listened to all these books. So the next one I listened to was Stamped, Racism, Antiracism, and You by Jason Reynolds, published in 2020. So again, went from 1927 to the present. So as you can see, I have hopped back and forth all over the century and the next century. So this one, great book. This is actually written based upon Ibram Kendry's book. This is kind of the YA version of it, I guess. But it was available, and it'd been on my list to read, because not everything, that is the problem when you get ebooks or audiobooks from your library, like not everything's available. And some things I'm waiting weeks on. There's actually a book I put in my to listen to, and it has an estimate of 6 months from now. It is not a new book. It is an old book. And I cannot believe that it has 6 months waiting on it. But anyways, I'll eventually get to it. Thought this book was great, informative. You know, I do have a graduate degree in history, but I definitely learned things or didn't know things or got some things clarified. So I thought it was a great read. I love that it was read by the author. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. I thought Jason Reynolds is a good audio book reader, so that was good. I enjoyed hearing it. But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff going on, and it would be great if so many more people were educated on American history and world history too, but American history, especially Americans. That would be great. So then the next book I am going to talk about was super short, like super short. And it's called The Clothing of Books by Jhumpa Lahiri. And it was published in 2016. And she kind of starts off with how do you clothe the book? She's a Pulitzer-winning author. This book, I mean, I totally recommend it because it is a book about book covers. And it's about her personal experience with her own book covers. It was fascinating, but it was super short. Like the audiobook was an hour. Read by the author. It was super good. But I knew that covers were made by, you know, people at publishing houses, marketing people, not really the author, but I don't know that I knew how little input or control that the authors had. It basically seems that most authors can either say yay or nay with some hesitation or give a couple little things, bits of information here, but it is something that is most often out of their hands. She also talks about what I thought was interesting is how books published in different countries, editors and publishing houses will be like, oh, nope, that won't work here. Oh, we could never use that cover. Or so it's interesting to see, as she talks about, is having her book maybe in 3, 5, 10 different countries and all having 10 different jackets, but represent the same book. Like, fascinating discussion. It was also really sad, like how upset and disappointed she is about a lot of her book covers. And that you just don't think about an author, you know, like we, people on Booktube, judge book covers all the time. But it'd be interesting to hear more about what the authors think of them, what their impressions of them were. Are they happy with them? After they've sat with them a while, have they grown on them? Do they dislike them? So it was really fascinating. Like, I mean, it's basically like a really long speech, but really well put together. And I thought it was just fascinating to think about book jackets and book covers from the author's perspective. So if you're interested in that, like literally it was an hour long. So you can pull the audiobook and grab it. Now the next two books. So if you saw a video I made a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, I said that I preferred standalone books instead of series. Well, I just started 2 new series, so I don't know what I was thinking. But anyways, they were short though. So the first one is Binti, and it's Binti number 1. It's by Nnedi Okorafor. It was published in 2015. And basically the premise of the story is this girl is the first of the Himba people to be accepted to University, which is the most prestigious university in the galaxy. And this first book is just about the crazy, death-defying trip that occurred to her while she was traveling to University. And so it's science fiction. I'd never read a book by Nnedi, but that's not true. I had read a book by her, but it was basically the written version of a TED talk that she had given. And I wasn't the hugest fan of it. Like it actually, it was really interesting because it was more about a biography about herself. And I know, like, for example, like we went to the same undergraduate university together. So there's parts of it I found like really interesting and fascinating, but then like so much of it wasn't about her actual writing, like her science fiction writing. So that was disappointing. So then, so I can't really hold that against the book because that's just not what that book was for. So then I was like, have been determined for like the last year or so that I was like, oh, I gotta read one of her science fiction books. So I totally did, and I totally liked it. So that was book 1. Of course, book 2, I think has a couple weeks wait on it that I can get access to it. And then book 3 is available now. So unfortunately, if I was okay with reading them out of order, that I could already have started the other one, but that's not the case. So that's just how it works sometimes. And the final book is, and I found this by accident. It was not a book or author that was on my list on any TBR. I was just kind of randomly scrolling through the Libby app and just seeing what my library was offering. And I came across this one and I was like, interesting. So I looked it up on Goodreads, and one person that I'm connected to on Goodreads, one of my friends' moms, who actually used to be a librarian, she had rated it 1 star. And I was like, ooh, okay, maybe that's not good. But I was like, but it's possible that just it wasn't for her. Because I've seen other books that she comments on and rates, and I was like, this seems like an odd pick for her. So I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. So the book was called All Systems Red, and it was the Murderbot series, and it was book number 1 by Martha Wells. And what caught my attention was that it said fans of Westworld, so HBO's Westworld, and I was like, cool, yes. And so then I was like, I'll read it. Just on that, just little plug there, like fans of Westworld. I'm like, yep. Gave it 4 stars. It was written in 2017. Really liked it. Really fast paced. Short book again. I mean, each book in the series, just like the Binti series, they're really short. A couple hours reading or listening to them. But yeah, so I started 2 new series. Now I think when I was saying that I didn't like series, I don't think I can handle series like Game of Thrones, where the books, you know, are massive and there's so many of them. And these books, you know, there's 3 to 5 in each series. Like, they're not that long. They're quick reads. You can knock them out fairly fast. The story's like fast paced and everything. Yeah, totally liked it. So yeah, so if you are a fan of Westworld, like I totally suggest it. The Murderbot, it's this idea of like a sentient being, and does he, you know, he is a sentient robot, but he does seem to have these human characteristics that were built into him, and he's starting to, and having feelings, and all these different thoughts and things are going through him, and how he interacts with humans and how difficult that is. And I thought it was really interesting. So like I gave it 4 stars, but like I said, the one person I knew on Goodreads that I'd actually read it that I knew only gave it 1 star. So that is why I think you always have to pay attention to, you know, if you know the person who's reviewing it, do you know what their taste is? Do you know other things they read? Is this something out of the ordinary that they maybe wouldn't necessarily read? You know, maybe somebody's like, oh, you should read this, and they did it, you know, but didn't like it. So, but yeah, 1 star. I'm like, oh, I found that interesting. So I gave it 4 stars. I was like, yep, can't wait to read the next one. I feel like this one actually, this is the one I just finished like 2 hours ago. I think my library already has the second one ready to go, so I'll have to wait like 6 weeks for the other one, for the other series. So I might dive into it fairly soon, but I don't think I'm going to be reading another book today. I might pick one up tomorrow, and I'll probably knock out another 1 or 2 before I go back to work next week after the new year. But I was like, 8 books is a ton, like a ton. Like, as I had said, my goal was 35 for the year, and I finished 8 of them in the last week. So again, it was 2020 though, so like cut me some slack. And I hope you've all cut yourself some slack too. Like, I know some people have knocked out 100, 200, 300 books. And then I know people that are avid readers who avidly usually can knock out 100 books, 50 books a year, who've read like 10. In the year 2020, I think we can just do whatever we can do and just get through it however best we can. So anyways, that's it for today's video. If you've read any of these, let me know. Like I said, it's eclectic as hell, so I hope you are okay with that. Hang in there with me. We'll see what this next year is going to be, but I figure, like, doesn't that basically explain 2020? Like, your reading was eclectic as hell, so was 2020. So anyways, until next time, catch you later. Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next year.